Hello everybody, Hassan here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to talk about base editing. I want to talk about base editing from Beam Therapeutics, base editing from NTLA. I want to talk about those two companies, how they differ when it comes to base editing, and maybe we can learn a thing or two in this video. Now, before we jump into today's video, you guys know the drill. You guys know what I will ask you. Like this video, smash the like button, really does help the channel, the YouTube algorithms. You know how they work. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It's quick, it's free, it's easy. And if you want to go a step further, you can always join the channel by clicking the join button below. We have no merch, nothing to sell in this video or in this channel, no courses, nothing. All we ask you guys is your attention, your likes, your subscription, and your shares. So thank you so much for support, guys. So base editing, right? Beam Therapeutics here, obviously, they're mostly known for base editing. I think when you think of base editing, you think of Beam Therapeutics right away, and I think that is the support that a lot of people behind Beam Therapeutics are betting on is the fact that they are the leader when it comes to base editing, which I would totally agree with you. And again, I've covered Beam Therapeutics numerous of times in this channel, so I really think base editing has a bright future in our CRISPR world, especially as you're increasing the academic papers, research papers published every single month, every single year, as Dr. Liu mentioned in Ark Invest podcast episode, right? But the point of this video here is to address several things here, right? So base editing as a whole, right? Beam Therapeutics do not own base editing, right? Base editing is a precision genetic medicine technique, okay? This is not a specific technique owned by Beam Therapeutics as a whole, right? This they own the specific approach to that technique, right? And what I mean by that is that with their base editing enzyme, such as deaminase, which carries out the chemical modification of the target DNA base, and with their CRISPR-Cas9 protein bounded to guide RNA, that is their combination, right? That is what they claim that they own the proprietary combination. Now, when you hear these words proprietary, that should basically give you a gateway to patents, right? To licensing, patents, and basically, the company owns this combination. Now, that is what they claim, right? That is not from like we're on their website, right? We're on Beam Therapeutics website. Now, they wouldn't say these types of information without actually having lawyers and patents involved, obviously. But just know that this is what they claim on their webpage, right? And you, as an investor, you have to understand, we're not necessarily looking at the law here. We're not looking at governmental documents here, where this is just Beam Therapeutics corporate website that claims that they own proprietary combination enables precise targeting and editing of single base DNA, right? So obviously, what that is the base editing that we've covered many times in this channel, right? The combination that they hold, obviously going from C to T and HG, right? So keep that in mind, right? Deaminase is their enzyme. CRISPR-Cas9 is their protein, right? And you can see here, I wish they would have given more details here, but they do give it in a corporate presentation I found here. This is from 2019, but the point remains, right? They have a modified CRISPR enzyme, in this case Cas9, and they have an editing enzyme, in this case deaminase. And basically, what they're able to do is do their base editing using that combination, right? So let's take a look now at NTLA. Okay, this is a press release from NTLA earlier this year. We've actually covered this company in this channel many times, NTLA, but specifically this press release. In fact, it was one of our early videos in this channel. We've actually covered this press release, but we never really dive deep into the technical details, right? And this is the goal of this channel, right? At least having a video that looks at it. So NTLA here, they said that they presented clinical data set on its novel cytosine deaminase base editor technology, right, at a virtual conference, right? And this data shows how the company proprietary base editors can expand its genome editing capabilities by enabling multiple gene knockouts, right? So Couple of keywords here, guys. Cytosine deaminase, that is the same enzyme that you just looked at earlier. And you're looking at the same word being used here, proprietary base editors, right? So keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind. So now let's head to the actual data set that they're referencing in that press release, right? And this was, again, a press release that was published earlier this year. So nothing new here. This was in March 25th, 2021. So that was quite a few months ago. And they're going over the first time. This was the first time that NTLA actually published anything about base editors, right? And maybe one the last time as well, right? I don't think there's been anything new since then, right? But if you take a look at this slide here, right? Engineering a base editor for multiplex knockout, right? So look at this. They have their Cas, CRISPR-Cas protein. They have their cytosine deaminase, and they have a UGI, right? And using this combination of nickase here, right? Cas9, right? With the guide and with deaminase, they're able to do that G2A or U to T, G2A or C to T. That is their outcome, right? Clearly, you can see here from this editing outcome on the right side of this slide, right? And what I found interesting here is that, again, this is causing me to question what here are we looking at that can basically avoid the wording of Beam Therapeutics proprietary combination. And obviously, we all saw Dr. Liu's tweets shortly after this data was published, late March, earlier this year. Basically said, Liu basically said on a high level. Again, we've covered that in our previous video if you guys search for our video catalog. But basically, Dr. Liu said something along those lines that he's disappointed in NTLA lack of giving credits to the researchers that actually found this combination, right, and so on. But ever since then, NTLA didn't backtrack, right? All this data is still out there. It is still available on their website. In fact, if anything, they've mentioned base editors numerous times in their press releases and so on since then. So obviously, they're going forward with this combination. But what are we looking at here that could lead to avoiding this proprietary combination that Beam Therapeutics hold so that they can avoid this patent infringement, right? What is NTLA doing? That is the big question. And because if we can learn from this, then we can literally translate that to CRISPR Therapeutics that actually have officially announced that they hold base editing as well. Now they haven't filed for IND, so we don't have those details, but we can speculate, right? Because if CRISPR-Cas9 can be used for CRISPR Therapeutics, and if they can use deaminase, then what can they do to this combination to change that proprietary wording that Beam Therapeutics said claims to have, right? What is the combination that changes that? And leave me a comments below if you know something more than I do. But I'm trying to dig into this information. I'm trying my best here because it's not just about NTLA, right? It's quite obvious that NTLA is going forward with this combination. They've just published data to them. They're looking positive on their data. Despite Dr. Liu's tweets on NTLA, they're still going forward with base editors. They've announced it. It's still on their website. They haven't backtracked since then. I think they're going forward with it. But what we can learn from this is that we can actually predict what CRISPR therapeutics will do if we can understand what is the combination here, right? Because again, it is still speculation. It's better to wait for data and the official announcement for an IND filing. But I think as an investor, you want to understand when the CEO of CRISPR Therapeutics goes on several interviews back to back, December 1st, December 2nd, right? The second one being on Piper Sandler's virtual conference and stating clearly that they hold base editing in their program, then you as an investor, you have to sit down and try to understand, okay, how will they avoid this patent infringement that base editors that for the longest time we thought the Beam Therapeutics held, right? So obviously this is changing, the landscape is changing here. And the key takeaways from NTLA, this was again late March, they said that they develop a base editor that's equipotent to Cas9 for T cell editing, using base editors with proprietary cell engineering process that can knock out several genes with over 90% efficiency, which is amazing, while maintaining translocation at background levels. The measurable off-target profile for base editor and Cas9 cleavage system are currently comparable. So they have data that they can show the cleavage is comparable. Therefore, if they can go forward with CRISPR-Cas9 in vivo approach, then they should be able to go forward with their base editor approach, right? If the data stuff, if in terms of safety and efficiency, they can be at least comparable, if not better, obviously, for base editors. In T cell, our base editor does not lead to global increase in C to C transition in genome or C to U in transcriptome. To fully characterize off-target units, the base editing category assessment should include deeper sequencing methods that are still evolving for the field, and I think that's why you haven't seen much since then. I think they're still working in the details. These things will take years to develop and to fully come to fruition, but I truly believe we'll see a lot more in 2022 from NTLA at least. In conclusion, NTLA has developed a base editing approach that has a favorable off-target profile and is comparable with a proprietary cell engineering process. So I want to lead you guys. Again, you guys can read that data and see how valid this data. And again, this is way too early. It's not even IND filing. I wouldn't even, I wouldn't even spend too much time on that. But I do want to spend time on understanding what is the combination here that puts them here, what we're seeing here in front of our screen, that puts them at a safer range to any patent infringement to Beam Therapeutics. Because if patent regulators are looking at this and they're okaying it, then to me, we are going forward with base editing with NTLA, right? And again, you can't necessarily apply the same concept for CRISPR therapeutics, considering we don't even know what they're using, but we know what NTLA is using, and we know they're going forward with this. This was presented late March, and they haven't backtracked it, and we haven't heard any law issues, patent infringement issues since then. Could have just been just a stunt from Dr. Liu. Could have just been emotional response. It is what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Help me out here. Try to make me understand what am I missing here. I'm sure I'm missing something. I'll keep studying it. Hopefully you guys are having a beautiful Sunday here. Um, it's a perfect time to study. So this is how we go further, right? So thank you so much for watching, and we will see each other in the next video. Thank you so much for liking and sharing. Thank you.